Hi, kids. Lisa here. Um, Pardon my wet hair. I'm a little bit drippy today and a little bit phlegmy, not feeling quite so well. But I wanted to talk with you while some ideas are freshly percolating in my head and share a sort of evolving set of thoughts that loosely relates to the work that I do with mindfulness and tarot and the relationship of tarot to Buddhism for me. Um, my starting point with all of this is my year ahead spread, and this is actually the first year that I've done a year ahead spread. I'm sort of have been sort of dubious about the value of that exercise, but it was a way that I could connect sort of deeply with the Wild Unknown, which is a deck that now I have in all four of the editions that are available. Actually, five, because I also have the knockoff version of the first edition. Anyway, so I'm like plunged. I've been plunging pretty deeply into the Wild Unknown, and wanted it to infuse 2017. So as I started out the year, this was how I was feeling. Very Ten of Wandsy. Now, sorry, let me get some water. Now, I hadn't actually drawn the Ten of Wands, but that was where I was. And, this sense of oppression and burden and overwhelm, at stake for me was the way in which, and still is, the way in which the political situation of our new president in the U.S. dovetails with some pretty deep spiritual issues that underline, my own suffering, everybody's suffering, really, and just even deeply, profoundly summed up in, Trump's image of the wall, reality, very concrete potential reality of the wall. This idea that somehow we can create a sense of security of the self as sovereign, dominant, pure, and we do that by literally trying to wall out what we don't want, right? I mean, this is the fundamental, in Buddhism, this is like the first and second noble truths. There's suffering, and suffering is about aversion, hatred, and greed. If I could just get all the good stuff, all of it, and hold on to it really tight and push away all of the crappy shit, then, hey, then life would be good, right? So that deeply samsaric, deluded reality is what the President of the United States is, trying to manifest for the entire world with himself and the nation that he thinks is just an extension of himself at the center. Now, I mean, I'm speaking of, like, for me, this kind of spiritual relatedness between the personal and the political at the very level of the nature of suffering. Suffering is an effort to push out what we don't want and hold on to what we do want. It don't work, right? It doesn't work politically. It doesn't work spiritually, emotionally, personally. It doesn't work in communities. I mean, it does not work. So the depth of that samsaric truth of suffering was really just seems everywhere for me coming into 2017. So I was totally in Ten of Wandsy land, feeling really dark, really melancholic. But the card I drew for January in my year ahead spread was this, the Ten of Cups, which was like, really? Okay. Okay. Now, January is behind me, right? It's February 4th. Did I have like this, sense of completion in January? No. I did not. But what the month really has been about, and what I'm entering into February with, is this very deep sense of the only way through individual suffering is via community and a recognition of our profound mutuality and interdependence. And here, the Kim Kranz's, I mean, many people diss this guidebook, and probably rightly so, but what she writes about the Ten of Swords really did get me thinking. I'm sorry, not Ten of Swords, Ten of Cups, really did get me thinking and inform me all month long. So she says, the Ten of Cups overflows with positivity. Your goals are being realized, and the excitement surrounding you is magnetic to others. No, okay, just FYI, I don't think my excitement was so magnetic in the month of January, but there you go. You may feel as though light or color radiates outward from you, almost like you're shining. Experience sensations like this with an open and joyful heart. Do not doubt this power. Okay, I did not feel like light and color was radiating out from me, but the phrase that kept coming through my mind all month long was "Let your light shine, let your light shine," and it was this sense of that I just needed to bring myself forward, bring what was in me to bring forward, not feel so afraid, not feel so overburdened with a sense of either Ten of Wandsy energy of this sense of oppression, or of a sense of I don't know, whatever, self-critic, not being good enough, or not being in the right place at the right time. Just let the light shine. And that in letting my light shine, bringing that fundamental generosity into the world, what I would be manifesting was a kind of community that is, in fact, the only real antidote to suffering. So, what is true is that although things feel really deeply still heavy, the world is still crazy. Only a couple weeks into his presidency, Trump is exhausting all of us, and worse, much, much worse for many of us. But what's true is that this was also a month of, a million plus people protesting in pink knit caps, a world of so much positivity flooding into social media, so many people talking, thinking, breathing, feeling. When we bring it forth, something happens. And in fact, all of the ways in which Kim Kranz's deck shows this sort of interconnection of individual rays of light in almost sort of through the imagery of creating like Native American dream catchers. This is a card that has been stalking me for the past month, the Three of Wands. So just that she keeps showing us images of how light, chakras, powers, energies, vitalities can kind of be held together through this intersection of space and community. So, that's how I was interpreting this card, is letting my light, letting what's in me pour forth into the world. Now, my card for February is not so happy. So, Five of Swords, this effort to dominate with the self, right? I mean, it goes back to the image of the wall. That sense of the need for self-definition, which needs to cut down what is not self. I think about the classic Rider-Waite imagery of the Five of, I don't have the card, but let me see, I can call it up, of the Five of Swords. The ways in which, this is so much a card that is saying, look, in any world where there is a winner, there will be losers, right? Because creation, the universe, it's a zero-sum game. If we gather up all the goodies over here, we have less over there. I mean, there's it's all interconnected. So, the Five of Swords reminds us of the ways in which um, a kind of abundance that comes through the self at the expense of others will just have different positions of gain and loss, all interconnected, all interwoven. Um, and from the standpoint of the individual, that interconnectedness might very much feel, if you're on the side of the loser, as like being cut into pieces. But if you have the perspective of the whole, then win or lose, we're all nothing. I mean, it's all there. It's all abundant. So I always think about the Five of Swords, the way in which this is a card that, I could be this guy, but might be this guy, or I might be, whoops, or I might be the guy in the far background. There are different positions within this game of win and lose. So if I'm taking my life from the standpoint of ego and ego gain, it's going to feel like this, or it's going to feel like this. And, the potential is to drop my pretense at walls, to drop my effort for the supremacy of the self, and to see how in community I might actually be able to catch some dreams as opposed to incurring gain and loss. Okay, so those are my thoughts that are coming up with my year ahead spread. But what they also spark then for me is just a way of thinking about the tarot as a whole, in terms of the relationship between ego, what do I want to say, between the building up of the ego and the building up of community. And so what I want to say about this for now, and I'll need to elaborate in further videos because I think these ideas are kind of complicated and they go in different directions, but is just to say that insofar as the tarot as a system, particularly the Rider-Waite system of tarot, is describing the journey of selfhood. Think about the Fool beginning with beginner's mind and moving through apprenticeship and mastery, both in the physical realm and then the spiritual realm, and culminating a kind of apotheosis of growth and synthesis in the world in the 22nd trump. If we think about tarot as being about the movement and journey of the self, then the four minor suits, swords, wands, cups, and discs, are also about that journey of the self. And in the suit of swords, of thought, discernment, intellect, and the suit of wands, of will, drive, creativity, that journey begins in a movement toward individuation and ends with a kind of ego death. Both the death of the Ten of Swords, of being, literally like pierced through with your discerning intention, and then the Ten of Wands, the complete oppression, what happens when you push your energy into the world as if the world is separate from you. Both swords and wands bespeak a progression of self that moves toward greater and greater individuation and separation, dualism away from the world. On the other hand, again, this is true of the Rider-Waite system, and not so true, I think, of the Musings, but it's very much expressed in the imagery of Rider-Waite. But with the suit of cups and pentacles, of emotion, spirit, receptivity, and fecundity, earth, fertility, creativity, embodiment, the progression of the self doesn't move toward greater and greater dualism. Instead, it moves toward community. It moves toward family. It moves toward a completion where the self becomes part of the organic order. Now, I say all of this to say that, in some sense, I think what I've been experiencing in 2017 is that these are exactly the same card. Whoops. One's upside down and one is right side up. These are, let's try that again. These are exactly the same card. But this card bespeaks a kind of development of self where self, in its generosity, parlays with the world and creates a kind of community, the sharing of the light, the mutual radiance by which we create the bright whiteness that is all of the colors of the rainbow together. That's just the light version of the Ten of Wands, which is about the oppression that comes when I drive that light out into the world as if the world is separate from me. And what I get reflected back to me is a sense of burden and oppression. The tarot is about the self, and wands and swords bespeak what happens when the self further segregates, further divides itself from the world as a way of development. And cups and wands, cups and pentacles show us the progression of the self as a kind of integration of community and family. So that's my great insight. Hope it made sense, and I'm going to go now rest and try to get over this cold. Blessings to you all. Bye.